The night UFOs swarmed over Washington, D.C., 1952. They said it was impossible, that nothing and no one could ever breach the skies above the White House. But in July 1952, the unthinkable happened. For 2 relentless weekends, Washington, D.C., the very heart of American power, was stalked from above by something beyond human comprehension. Radar saw it, pilots chased it, the Pentagon denied it, and the truth was buried under national security. But the records remain. Radar tapes, pilot testimonies, declassified memos, all pointing to one chilling reality. Something was there, something intelligent, and it was watching us. Scene 1. The night the sky broke. July 19th, 1952. A humid night over Washington. Inside the radar room of Washington National Airport, operator Edward Nugent stared in disbelief as 7 unknown blips appeared on his scope. They weren't planes, they weren't storms, they moved with purpose, darting, stopping, reversing course like hunters circling prey. When the Air Force at Andrews Base confirmed the same readings, panic rippled through the control towers. The targets were moving toward the White House. Phones rang, orders flew, and for the first time in history, America's capital was under an aerial siege that defied explanation. Scene 2. The witnesses in the sky. At 11,000 feet, pilot William Patterson of Capital Airlines saw brilliant lights pacing his aircraft. He radioed in, voice trembling, "They're all around us, and there's nothing I can do." Down below, radar tracked those same objects weaving across D.C. at speeds over 7,000 miles per hour. Controllers watched one target split into 2, another hover motionless over the White House dome before vanishing like it was never there. By dawn, the skies were empty again. But for Washington and the men who saw it, sleep would never come easily again. Scene 3. The Return. Exactly a week later, July 26th, it happened again. The lights were back, brighter, faster, more aggressive. This time, the Air Force launched F-94 interceptor jets to engage. But as the fighters closed in, the UFOs vanished. Seconds later, they reappeared behind the jets. The hunters had become the hunted. One pilot reported an orange glowing sphere tailing his aircraft before shooting into the clouds at impossible velocity. On the ground, radar screens erupted, dozens of unidentified returns right above the U.S. Capitol. For the second time in 7 days, Washington's defenses were powerless. Scene 4. The cover-up. Newspapers exploded, saucers swarm over Capitol, jets chase sky ghosts over White House. The story gripped the world until the Pentagon stepped in. On July 29th, General John Samford faced the cameras in the largest UFO press conference in U.S. history. He smiled, calm, controlled. Temperature inversions, radar mirages, nothing unusual. The press moved on, but behind closed doors, the CIA wasn't so sure. Declassified memos later revealed their fear that these UFOs could be foreign craft testing U.S. defenses, or worse, something non-human. The Robertson Panel was quietly formed not to investigate, but to debunk, discredit, and reassure the public. The truth became a threat. Scene 5. The Forbidden Files. Decades later, the witnesses began to talk. Radar operators, pilots, investigators, men with nothing left to lose. They swore the radar was real, the lights were real, and the cover story a fabrication. Project Blue Book's own internal memo admitted it. The Washington sightings cannot be explained by temperature or equipment malfunction. Whatever those objects were, they outmaneuvered everything we had. They violated the capital's airspace, and they disappeared without a trace. 70 years later, Washington still remembers the nights the sky came alive, when radar screamed, pilots prayed, and the world's most powerful government stood helpless. They called them weather anomalies, but the men who were there never believed it. Because when you stare into the DC night sky, you realize something. They came once, they can come again, and they never left.